All right, guys, welcome back to the Be Better podcast, episode 14, with a good friend of mine, Brett Simon. Brett, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
That's good, man. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, man. Are you excited for the holidays coming up?
Yeah, I'm in town for the holidays now. I'll be here to the 29th, go back to Atlanta before the New Year's. Hopefully we schedule something fun to do for New Year's then, but I'm still just discussing that. But yeah, I've been here for when did I come in? What is today? Thursday? I've basically just been here this week so far. So be in
That's nice,
town for
man.
about 2 weeks.
That's cool. I'm glad to have you back in town, man. I mean, I know St. Louis has missed you. I've missed you, so I'm glad that you being in the 314. It's always a good thing when Brett Simon flies into town. So
That's fun. That's fun. The 314 636 border. That's right where I'm at.
yeah, brother. Cool.
Um,
Fantastic. Well, hey man, I obviously I know you well. I know we've worked together in some capacities for a couple times and all that good stuff. But for the people out there who don't know you, kind of like what you do, like give a little elevator pitch of who you are and what makes you do what you do.
Yeah, so where I'm at right now, owner of Elevate Business Growth, sales at its core, but sales and marketing company. We partner primarily with commercial roofing companies and expanding their commercial sales, commercial efforts. Just got off of a sales call, about 2 hour long call with uh, a commercial roofing company north, a little more north, um, to cut some details. It was a good call. Looks like we'll look to onboard um, in March, kick off in April, and really kick them into gear. So that was a really good call. I was happy about that. Um, I don't want to go on a tangent. Let me get back. Let me get back to my mind right here. Um, Brett, Elevate Business Growth, sales and marketing company, and full remote at this point. A bit of an adventure, at least at one point in my life. Had a lot of fun, and um, I moved to Atlanta 3 years ago, and um, career path changes, but eventually, I was doing commercial roofing and loved it. Loved getting on roofs, really. As an adventurer myself, I like getting on some of the tallest buildings in Atlanta, but not just them, but any large roofs, doing measurements, doing takeoffs, taking cores, and also going with the service guys. Made some good friends in the service department. Really, is some roofing foremen that taught me a lot of the intricacies of doing roof repairs, what to look out for, how to identify leaks, things like that. Um, but I liked it. I liked it, and what I always wanted to do from these skills that I've accumulated in my different jobs or trades, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and finally taking the leap. This It's been a little over a year now, but taking that leap was exciting, very exciting, and it's been going really well. It's been going really well. I mean, it was the best decision I've made, so I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, man, I'm a firm believer that there's only really two ways that you get wealthy in this world and create generational wealth for, forever essentially. Is one, real estate, right? Buying and owning property and assets and in that regard. And two is being an entrepreneur and starting your own business, being your own boss, right? Because you're in complete control of your destiny. It's feast or famine, and what you get out is what you put in, right? And I love how you mentioned like the leap, right? The leap of faith is what I call it, because a lot of people have these incredible ideas, or maybe they think they can reinvent the wheel and all this good stuff, but they don't do it. They never take the jump. And I bet you a lot of those people, man, how many people do you think have went to their deathbed and one of their last thoughts were like, oh, what would have been my life if I would have, started that business? If I would have did
Everybody,
this, if I would have did
there's
that.
so many people. Yeah, it's scary when people get into those ages and they're looking at those regrets. Those regrets are very common, very common.
Sure. I mean, it's different. Like, oh, hey, I should have asked this girl out to the sophomore dance, whatever, man. It's different, man, because like that's just an instant, kind of moment there where it affects that day and it's over. But if you started a business, like, who's to say like the business that you start is not going to be the most revolutionary thing in the industry, and it's going to be an 8-figure, 9-figure, 10-figure business, and create generational wealth forever. Like, I mean, Apple was started out of a garage, Amazon was started out of a garage, all because these men took this leap of faith and decided to work their ass off until it yielded good results.
Yeah.
I know your process quite a bit, man. I know your clients are happy. I know you do a good job, and I just wanted to know, like, obviously you said you've been an entrepreneur in your heart pretty much forever. I love to hear that, man. I think I'm kind of in that same boat. I've always been trying to be interested in businesses and find better processes to dominate those businesses. But in your situation, man, like when did you realize it was time? Like fuck everything else. Like right now is the time. No matter what happens, fail or succeed, this has to be my moment.
Um, well, I could give you a long answer here, and if we've got plenty of time on this, might as well. But back to the entrepreneurial spirit that has been forever. I can go back to, beginning of high school where I had saved up a lump sum and began investing and doing individual investments before I was even old enough to have my own account, but doing it, opening an account in my mom's name and making individual stock trades and learning a lot through. Now it's been thousands of trades in the last, I don't know, 12, 15 years or so. But from that lump sum grew that initial portfolio. It was about 40, 50% before taking about 3,500 out to buy my first car, then bought my first car. My dad at that point he began a used car dealership or got into used car deal business. And I was growing through investments and then invested in my own dad by buying and selling cars from the car lot, or not from the car lot, from the car auction. There's a huge auction here in Missouri. And so I learned a little bit about that, went to the auctions with him, still not even 18 or can't really bid on these cars myself without someone with a dealership license. But I would go with him with my own investment to bid on these cars and then buy and sell cars through him as a revenue stream while I was in high school, while also just doing trades myself. And the plan at that point was to build up enough to continue buying and selling cars through my dad's dealership while moving into college. But then while going on a college visit, I totaled my car. And then just took what that leftover amount was that was to continually buy and sell while I was in college. I took that amount, bought the car, and went to college. But throughout college, I was always doing trades, and I worked at a bar, Shady Gators. Shout out
Shady
Shady
Gators.
in Lake Ozark. Ton of fun there, and um, always had financial spirit at heart. I was able to be one of the few ones to go and have a lot of fun at Lake Ozark, but also save a lot of money. Wasn't blown at all while I was down there, but was able to pay off about half my college tuition before graduating. So really getting those lump sums off. Paid my own car, bought my own house, paid my own college. All this was through myself. I wasn't really spoon fed or growing up into somebody really getting an inheritance, if you would. So a lot of things I've been very proud of, but cognizant of. And I would say through my experiences growing up, not having a lot of money, growing up, playing on sports teams, football teams, and maybe following practices or games, and parents and kids wanting to go out to dinner and things like that. We didn't always do that. We wouldn't have the money to go out and eat every time after practice with friends or whatnot. But so it was always the matter of money was always on my mind, even from I was 9 years old, you know. So that kind of stemmed to my first passion or my first career, which was financial planning, financial advising, and doing investments and saving and paying down debts and always being in a good position financially. That was really where that first passion stemmed. And from there, you are kind of your own boss in financial planning. It is the numbers game. And as you understand in our sales process, if you can make it 20 years as a financial planner, the residuals from your existing client base is basically, you could be making six figure checks without picking up another phone call, so to speak. But financial planning is a grueling business. And what I learned and doing it, I was good at it, but I didn't have a lot of well endowed or well off friends. Where I initially got into it thinking I wanted to help people get their financials in order and in line, but where financial planners make money is managing under millions under assets and really having the conversations with the guys with the deep pockets. So at first I'm thinking I'm helping people that need to get their financials in order, but I didn't have a lot of the big contacts right out of college to really build a good book of business. I closed or had plenty of clients my own, but very small in comparison. So then when I found myself, suit and tie, 12 hours a day, every day, working from 7 to 7, last in the office, sitting in front of the computer, it's nighttime, still trying to make this work, and also just living off my own savings, right? Because as a financial planner, you're not making a high salary. I mean, you can go work at Edward Jones and make a decent salary, but a lot of these companies, they don't pay a lot up front. So I was basically working off savings until I was just sitting there, realized, am I going to do this 12 hours a day, every day, suit and tie for the next 20 years? And it was just sort of epiphany at my desk, thought, no, I don't think so. So then I had a career switch. And that's not long after that is when we met. But then fast forward to making the leap to, well, I guess we could take another step back. Prior to me moving to Atlanta, I was trying to culminate a lot of my skills to check a lot of the boxes to be entrepreneurial. And where you and I had met, obviously there was a lot of departments that could check a lot of areas of marketing. I spent time meeting with all the department heads. I wanted to learn from them really the science behind what gets people to open emails, what's the attention rate on emails, what's the benefit statements, why are the reasons on them, why are the reasons of the benefit statements that we say, what generates, what's the best ways to get those results in every facet of marketing. And that's what I was trying to learn from everyone that I wanted to meet with, everyone I wanted to speak with, the best people in each division. And once I felt I was checking a lot of those boxes, I then wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. Hang on a second. The dog is trying to escape.
It's all good, brother. You're preaching the choir, man. I got 2 dogs, and everybody that watches this podcast knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, just give it 10 minutes. The dog's going to come back in the door, so just keep it closed. So where was I? So checking a lot of those boxes. I eventually made a deal to move to Atlanta, and in that deal, it was a quick move. I had to be there in a month, and I had already. This was back in 2020. Interestingly enough, I keep going in different directions here, but in 2020, when the stock market took a dump, my eyes got big, and I then put 8,000 into individual investments after the dump, and turned 8,000 to 20,000 before year's end. So it was about 130, 125% profit, 120% profit. Yeah. 120% return. And then when I struck a deal to move to Atlanta, I had to be there in a month. And so I took the 20,000, had a lender friend, family friend, who could do a 21-day close. And that gave me like 8-9 days to shop a house. I did not want to rent in Atlanta. I was pretty confident in my ability and putting roots in Atlanta, or long term could always easily be an investment property, right? That's what I was thinking at the time. So when I struck the deal, had 21-day lender, shopped 8 days for a house. I bid on houses sight unseen while out of Missouri. I actually put in a bid for a house myself, and the realtor selling the house reach out to me to let me know I was the second best bid. And then she asked me if I put the bid in myself. I said, yeah. I mean, I don't have any time. And she wanted to make sure how serious I was. But then thankfully I got communication with her because she's a rock star. Um, right away, she just started jumping into houses and FaceTiming me, showing me houses. And we put in a few offers, won, and I I was able to close and move and sign for the house before I even stepped foot on it. Um, so that, as far as taking a leap goes, that was pretty scary. No family in Atlanta, right? Everybody, for the most part, my whole family was either Missouri or Texas. But within 30 days, within 8 days, contracted, got down there, took a U-Haul, and then by the time I owned my house, I'd stepped foot on it for the first time, and I was like, all right, I'm here. So
So, so in regards to, that whole story you just said, man, like I've heard some pretty remarkable stories, but that's literally like a Hail Mary pass, right? Like guys running towards the end zone, you threw a Hail Mary pass and you caught it, right? That's pretty much what that was. Sight unseen, buying a house in a completely different state on the other side of the country, essentially.
yeah.
For a job that you haven't started yet, you had 30 days time, shot clock to basically get your ass in there and start developing. You didn't know if it was going to work out or not, and you went for it. And obviously, the results speak for itself. I mean, it seems like it's going very, very well. Well, obviously, you left that job to start your own in the same space, but like it obviously worked out well. I mean, what a leap! That's an incredible story of a leap of faith, man. So, to people out there that hear this that are scared, oh, well, I don't want to lose $500 to start my business. Please take this lesson from Brett that he literally made the ultimate sacrifice and it paid off. Like, please.
Yeah, took the savings, bought the house, went down, knew absolutely nobody in Atlanta. That was an adventure. Didn't know anybody at all. And quickly made friends, just became social and getting out there and working on my first time buying a house too, right? So having a lot of fun just doing what I can with the house. But um and then my girlfriend, we still had a lease in St. Louis that wasn't up for another 6 months. So she didn't come until the lease was up. So I was there literally by myself for 6 months before she came down. And then by the time she came down, I thought I did a good job decorating the place. Okay. I got furniture, I got plenty of stuff, but it's funny when she came down, she gutted the whole thing. She's like, no, none of this is working. So, way better for it too. She made the house look way nicer than what I ever thought it was. So,
Yeah.
um,
My wife's the same way, man.
it was good.
I let her design everything. She's got the eye for it. I'm the most uncreative person. Like this logo behind me, that's about as creative as my brain gets, and it's just my logo with an American flag behind it. But
I like it.
um
I like it. Well, tell me about it. What's these stars? Why do you have the stars on the logo?
all right, so there's the stars. A lot of people will say that that's like the Steelers stars, and it's not. I can't stand the Steelers. I'm a Dolphins fan, so fuck the Steelers. But I don't know, man. I just found the logo one time, created it on Canva, and I was like, this is fucking sweet. I
I don't
like
know. The
space,
logo the
so
logo says you like the Steelers. It's a little
yeah, I know. I might
just,
I might need to take that off somehow. I don't know. We'll see
I'm
what
just
happens.
kidding.
I'll
I'm
just
just
do this.
messing with
I'll
it.
just do this. But
Yeah,
actually, I
right.
mean, I say fuck the Steelers, man. Like they've ever done anything to me. They've never done nothing to me, and they don't really even the Dolphins and them hardly. That's not even a big deal. So I don't know, but fuck them anyways because they're not the Dolphins. But
I could never stand Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, I'm sure Steelers fans loved him, but I couldn't stand watching him, pump fake 8 times each play, just for 280 pounds to run 4 yards. It was not a quarterback I care to watch. But
oh, that's so true, man. He was. I mean, I'm not gonna go on a football tangent here, man. But he was kind of interesting to watch, man. There's some other players out there that I think are better, but I mean, hey, dude, it's like every rape charge you got, he just won a Super Bowl and they forgot about him. So
yeah, we
but
can always go on a football rant though. My fantasy teams are doing pretty good this year. Well,
uh,
two of the three did, and then one of them I had basically Nick Chubb, Mike Williams, and a couple starters just season-ending injuries that season got canned. But no, I'm in the championship in one league right now, and this week's week one of the championship. We got the 2 week championship, but I'm excited about that. You're in fantasy?
yeah, I have two leagues, man. And I always tell myself every year, hey, man, like you're gonna be committed, you're gonna pay attention, you're gonna do it. And then I get busy, I get sidetracked, I forget about it. And now I'm in like, I don't know, like seventh place out of 11 people in one of them, and I think I'm in last place on the other one. I just
Uh,
forget, man. I'll be watching the games. Like I'll be at my house watching the games and be like, oh, obviously watching the games as my free time, and I totally could be dealing with fantasy shit, and I forget about it completely. So it's I'm never in any paid league for that reason because I know how I
uh,
am, and I know I'll forget, and and just all the BS that comes with it. But yeah, it is what it is. It's fun. It's still fun. The draft is fun. The shit talking's fun. You know what I mean? Like it's a good time.
yeah, no, all my leagues are $50 buy leagues. We want to keep
Ooh.
people relatively invested. But a lot of these guys are in like 200, $300 leagues too. But um, no, it's fun. I got pretty neck deep into it this year. Getting 5 screens up in the living room, getting the watch parties going, um, doing some grilling and whatnot. So that was cool. Yeah, no, I made a good group of friends in Atlanta, and there are a lot of great people. I think the best things about Atlanta are the people and the weather. Honestly, there's yeah, yeah. So a lot of open-minded people that, 80% of Atlanta is implants. There's not a lot of people that are just born and raised. Although probably my best friend in Atlanta is born and raised, but just about everybody else that I know is from out of state. And so when you put together a big melting pot of people from out of state, you get kind of mentalities like me where they took that leap. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool.
That is
Um,
cool because St. Louis is not like that. Like for people that live in St. Louis, like everybody's from St. Louis. Nobody moves to St. Louis. You know what I mean? Like it's a very uncommon thing for somebody. Like it happens, but like I'd say 85% of people that live in St. Louis or the metro areas around St. Louis, like they're all from here. Their families have lived here. Like St. Louis is not the hot, sexy destination to move to.
right.
So when you get uprooted and basically implant yourself in a different dynamic, man, that is pretty cool. That it's a different, totally different caliber of people over there, and you're all just
Yeah.
blending together in a new environment.
It really is like I do make that comparison because if you go to like bars in St. Louis and you're not a regular there, they might look at you
Oh
like
yeah,
who's this new guy, or
get out of
who
here.
who who do you know, where are you from thing. And in Atlanta it's complete opposite. Everybody's just open-minded from out of town. You can go in and make 10 friends on a fucking night if you wanted to. It's um I guess it's just not that way. So pretty opposite. It's a lot easier. I would say it's way easier to just show up, make a lot of friends in Atlanta as opposed to like St. Louis.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, St. Louis, dude, is definitely like not the friendliest area, right? And I don't know if that has to do with maybe the crime factor. Like we have a lot of like for God's sake, St. Louis people that don't live in St. Louis, the high school rivalries here are life and death. Like people have been murdered over high school football games here, and like I don't know many other places that are like that. So like I think it's just kind of funny how you go to Atlanta, right, which is a bigger city, right, much more people, and like everybody's
yeah,
friendly, you're having a good time.
Atlanta's about 6.5 million. I mean, there's plenty of crime. Don't get me wrong. There's
Wow,
definitely plenty of crime, but
so
yeah,
it's
I think it's
six
like
and a
six
half
and a half
million.
million. Yeah, as opposed to St. Louis is like,
three
well, St.
hundred
Louis
thousand,
City is 500,000. The metro is obviously more than
1.2, I
that.
think,
And
1.3.
I might be referring to Atlanta like Metro for 6.5 million. I'm not sure what like downtown Atlanta or the city of Atlanta is, but
Sure.
uh, it's built out. There's so much more construction. I think Atlanta looks way more appealing than St. Louis. St. Louis is like just old construction, not a whole lot of new construction going. There's always construction in Atlanta, and they're always building outward. I mean, there's a lot of different like pocket cities that stretch right outside of Atlanta. You can just go from one city to the next, but it's like all the Atlanta metro. So I mean, it's really cool, and there's a lot going on. So
Yeah,
I do like
that's.
it for those reasons.
I'll have to come visit, man. I've only been to Georgia one time, and I wasn't near Atlanta. I was in the South, like where it touches Florida. Um,
Yeah.
we made a wrong turn and had to turn around in Georgia. So I was like 17 or something. We were going somewhere in Florida and went the complete fucking wrong way and had to turn around. So I crossed the border, hit a gas station, and came back. So it wasn't anything like I didn't have a good time there. But so other than meeting people there and kind of getting your roots kind of in place, man, like whenever you started that business, like what were some of the initial challenges, like the most difficult things you had to do, and let's say in the first 90 days?
Yeah, okay. So eventually when I finally took the leap, leaving the roofing company I was with, I learned a lot in the roofing industry. And for what I do in my business, obviously primarily marketing for commercial roofing companies, it was crucial to learn those intricate details of roofing, as far as messaging goes, as far as establishing the credibility of who you're talking to on the other side of the phone. I thought it was very important to have that knowledge base and to be able to close. So I think that time spent with the commercial roofing company was imperative. It checked boxes that I would have never had otherwise. And once it was over, it was like I felt very confident from the skills that I had put together where you and I had met, and the skills I had just put together in the last couple of years of commercial roofing company to take that leap. And it was something that had been on my mind right for years. But once I did it, it was interesting.
Oh, Brett, I just lost audio for you.
Yeah.
No, I can hear you again. Yeah, loud and clear.
I'm basically flipping AirPods. They're dying on me right now. They
I
use
told you
them.
it happened to me earlier with a sales call,
Yeah.
man. Both AirPods died, and I was like, what do I do with my hands? So
Yeah, I might just put it up, or I can put the headset on, I guess. But anyway, I'll have to do that after this one dies. It won't take long. So biggest challenges, took the leap. I had plenty of money reserved to last for a while. That was part of the plan. Save your money, give yourself options, give yourself time, give yourself a chance with money saved, I would say, first and foremost. Don't just go in, business loan in debt, whatnot, which is another thing. I never took a business loan. My business doesn't require a brick and mortar. I can understand for a company that might, or somebody that might need a brick and mortar to obviously take out a significant business loan. But my business is full remote. My team is full remote. It's all of us with internet connection in front of a laptop with a headset. So that really keeps the operational cost low. A lot of not a lot of red tape to go through, as opposed to say starting a roofing company where there's a ton of equipment, workers comp. Workers comp is disgusting in roofing, and certifications that you need to get that you really can't get on a lot of roofs without those certifications. Like there's a ton of red tape to starting a business like that, or even a brick and mortar business, as opposed to my business, primarily just online in front of a laptop. So I would say that my business was significantly easier to start than a traditional business, but give yourself that chance, save money so that you have that time. That's first and foremost. Secondly, have a thought out business plan. Think about your process from really beginning to end, and what are the big steps in that process, and then break down those steps to 10 more steps. If your process is, okay, I need a client, how do I get a client? Reach out to potential roofing companies. All right, set those meetings, pitch them, contract, close. Okay, if those are your big steps, take each step, break them down into 20 steps even. Where in those areas can you improve? Where can you have the highest successes? So at this point, you've got a business plan of 100 steps, and each step, what delivers the highest success in your verbiage, in your pitch, and in your conviction? What gives you the highest percent success through that entire process? That's pretty much what I did where, you and I worked together. That's how I was crafting my own pitch, my own sales, was which approaches yielded the highest success consistently, without objection, without fail. And then once I broke it down to a science, and then it's a rinse and repeat. But yeah, biggest struggles. What were some things I think I learned in the first 90 days? I didn't realize how putting together, obviously, all the different tax filings that you have to do. Once I first couple months was registered LLC, and then once the money started picking up, converted to an S corp. Yeah. And and, filing state, local, federal, all these different taxes were things I didn't really anticipate at first, which I knew there was going to be taxes, but didn't know I had to, file or sign into 5 different areas of making sure I'm checking all these boxes so that I'm, getting everything right. So eventually did get a CPA, and my CPA has been great. Really complimenting all those things that I need. Also have a lawyer, not salary, but certainly need one in case of anything, but also with contract law. Some contracts can get lengthy, where I put together a contract and then they want to add, 10 pages of legal binding, which that's fine. We're here to play ball. But yeah, then get a contract lawyer as well. Let me think.
Well, I think the most important thing that you might have said earlier with that is like your business process, right? And having a proof of concept, right? So where businesses fail is people are like, oh, I want to start a roofing business, but they have no business model, they have no business concept, they don't have a proof of concept, and they can't replicate what they're trying to do, right? Whereas with you, you had a business model, you broke it down into 100 steps, or even if it's 1,000 steps or 10 steps, whatever. Just make sure those steps are well thought out and documented, and then you're
They're
constantly
covered.
improving them. Right, they're covered.
Yeah.
But at the
You're
same time,
prepared.
right, exactly. You have to be prepared. You have to have a game plan in regards to that, right? I would say the most important thing though is like having success and then figuring out how to replicate it, right?
Yeah.
We were both in the sales world too. Like, man, people will go out there and get these killer deals and then they phase out. Why? They weren't able to replicate their process, right? They hit a home run one time and then they struck out every time else they went off the bat. That is not being successful. Success is consistency in replication of your process, right? All right, guys, welcome back to episode 14 with my good friend Brett Simon. Sorry about the technical difficulties. The platform we're using here doesn't want to be user friendly, but in the meantime, it actually sparked a pretty good topic up that we were talking about. We are talking about books and reading and everything. And Brett, share that book again that you just pulled up.
How to have confidence and power in dealing with people.
Who wrote that?
Les Giblin.
Les Giblin. Excellent. So obviously, it looks like you're an avid reader in some capacity. I know we talked about, trying to get a little golden nuggets. I'm trying to give you some credit here, even though I know you're not. But
I'll be honest. I'm not.
Yeah, you
I
should
wish I could read more. Well, I just told you, yeah, I can go months at a time, not picking it back up. It just sits in the nightstand, but that's my biggest problem. If you want to get back into it now that we're recording,
yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's all good, man. I was just like saying like kind of my rebuttal to what you said about, like, because we're all guilty of it, man. Like, we want to get through something, we want to read something, and then we, set it down and forget about it. But like I said before in the other podcast, man, I told you earlier, when I switched to Audible, and I'm able to retain or get this information and kind of, soak it in while I'm doing these other tasks, it's been so much more beneficial, right? So now when I'm doing the dishes or I'm at the gym or I'm walking the dogs or even when I go to the grocery store and I'm by myself, right? Throw the AirPods in, start the book, and keep going. And obviously the whole point is to retain as much of those golden nuggets of information as possible. But if you can't, like we said earlier, I read a quote one time and it said, if you read a book and it sparks one idea, it was worth it. And I've always tried to live by that. So everything that I read, I've always tried to at least take one big takeaway and implement it into my life. And when I make those, it's kind of funny how life works out, man. Like I feel like when I read something and I know it's impactful, like things happen to me in my life that are like comparable to, that has to do with that quote. It's kind of goofy how it works out.
No, it's true though. And that's a great quote as well. When you're pulling the thing back up, when you're pulling the Zoom back up, each chapter has a little quick synopsis of the message or the impact that you wanted from it. And as I like to have this in my nightstand, and I'll try to implement it as a best practice, like you said, for even like that entire week, it'll stick with me from one chapter to the next, one thing that you want to work on and improve on. But my problem is, yeah, just burying it in the nightstand, and then I won't pick the book back up for another 3 months. So, but no, if there's one thing that you get out of it, then it was worth it. That's very true. I think a quote that I have had or kept with me for a long time, not forever, because I wish I had done this sooner, back in high school or even before that, but came to realize it's just simply everyone has something to learn from. And if you think about it, everyone has something to learn from. If you can apply it same to the method of book. If you learn something from the book, I mean, it was worth it. But everyone has something to learn from. Wouldn't discount or discredit anybody. You can stem that, you can expand that onto respecting everyone you come across, respecting everyone and everything that they do, treat everybody with respect. But if everyone has something to learn from, you don't know everything. Everyone has personal experiences. And if getting to know someone and from whatever their experiences are in life or whatever their trade may be, you can learn something from them. I mean, you can learn something from anybody. So I wouldn't look past or look over anybody. Treat everybody with respect. And you know what? Kind of crazy. When I was in financial planning, our we had like I guess a team leader, and he's still there. He's been there for a long time. He's now my FA. I'm rolling all of my financials over to him. Been doing that this year as well. But one thing that I observed from him while I was in planning was he was, and I mean, the guy's a partier, a great time, athlete, but now he's, wife, kids. And but one thing I always observed from him was how incredibly um nice and courteous he was with everybody. I mean, we took a trip up to oh gosh, where was that? Not Boston. It was before Boston. Starts with an M. I can't remember where we went, but it was a long road trip basically to a convention. But I mean, just stopping at gas stations or convenience stores or just talking to somebody on the street, like super incredibly um, courteous to everybody. And because he kind of explained to me at one point, and it's not disingenuous, but he explained to me at one point, like, you never know who you're going to come across. That could be your next biggest client. They could just be, out and about and strike conversation and close big deals. It was funny though, a client of mine, as I applied this to practice, I had scheduled 2 meetings once back when I was a financial planner, back to back, not back to back, but basically before and after lunch. But I suit and tie, go out, meet with somebody, discuss financials, whatnot. And then before my second meeting, I went and got a haircut. And then I had that second meeting with someone else on financial planning. But when I got that haircut, it was a new barber. It was just a barber shop that was most conveniently right between one meeting to the next, right? I just trying to be efficient with it. But ironically enough, met the barber. Barber asked what I was doing. Obviously, I'm out there in a suit in the middle of the day during the week. Told him what I do, got to talking, and she became a client, whereas those 2 meetings I had did not. So it was just interesting, you know what I mean? Like, I scheduled these 2 meetings, and they didn't turn out to be clients, but my barber just out and about between jobs became a client. So that was really cool.
Yeah, life works in mysterious ways like that, man. Like, two of the most, like, and I said it on the last podcast that I had too, like, one of the most important people in the world to me, I met on Xbox randomly. And he even spoke at my wedding. He did the opening prayer at my wedding, right? This is a man that I respect more than anybody, right? Like, I always call him the father I always wanted, right? Like, this guy, uber successful, he's the best guy in the world, man. Dr. Charlie, I had him on the podcast a couple episodes back. And he's the same way, man. But he's the same way. Like, anywhere we go, we'll go out to dinner, and he'll talk to everybody like that, And I'm a little more reserved, so I'm just kind of like, after the workday, I've talked to so many people, I'm just like, I just kind of want to be left alone. But that dude will grind all day, do what he does best, and then we go to dinner, and he's talking to the waitress like he's known her for 20 years. He's talking to the cook like he's known her for 20 years. He's talking to the valet like he's known her forever, right? Like, it's just going to above and beyond like that, and he will create opportunity out of nothing. And it just amazes me, and I've tried to do that myself, and it's worked really well, right? Like, in some few instances. But when you meet people like that can create opportunity out of anything and really grow their network, like you said, you never know who's going to be your next biggest client. You never know. And I mean, he's got a higher chance of anybody else I know finding that because he's opening every door, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every interaction he has, it's not a brush off like, okay, thanks, man, see you later, right? Like when you leave the grocery store, thanks, bye.
Right.
It's not like
Exactly.
that for him. Everybody has a target and everybody is a potential sell. And man, I wish that I'm talking about it now and I wish that I would implement it more into my life because I'm sure the results would be great. But
Would be,
I love,
yeah.
I love it, man. I love that there's other people out there that do that. And if I could learn anything, I wish that'd be something that I could mold into.
Yeah. Taken to practice. And like you, I mean, I agree too. You can, through a full work day, and a lot of people are subject to this, right? Your brain can be mashed by the end of it. And then, um, you may not have that social energy, maybe much like an introvert or so, but kind of discount those interactions going about your day from that point. Maybe you're
Yeah.
just done talking, and in our business, we're talking all day. And that's why my voice is so hoarse right now too. But and yeah, I have those days too where I get off and I'm done talking. I'm tired of talking. I can, spare me the social interaction from that point. So there's a
Yeah.
cap. That
My wife
definitely
and I,
happens.
my wife and I call it the social meter, right? And like, if you ever marry, your girlfriend there, this would be a good lesson for you. Somebody taught me this, and it's worked out well. It's like, develop a social meter with your spouse, right? Or your significant other, your longtime girlfriend. I know you and Brittany have been together 5 years, so you're pretty much married. Uh,
7, yeah.
oh, 7. I thought it was 5. Excuse me. Even so, you proved my point. Way to go. But get the verbiage of a social meter, right? And when you want to go out and do stuff, be like, hey, how's your social meter today, right? Are you at a 100%, like, hey, I'm good to go, I'm feeling good, or like, yeah, I'm at like a 5%, kind of a long day, right? You're able to gauge and kind of plan shit around that. So like after work, some days, like today, for example, you can probably tell on my face, dude, my social meter is low today, dude, because I fucking grinded all day, right?
Yeah.
But like tomorrow's gonna be Friday. Like I could grind from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a Friday, but the weekend's coming, so my social meter is gonna be able to retain.
Higher.
It's gonna be higher, right? Because I'm like, cool. I get, especially now, a long weekend. I get a couple of days off. It's gonna be fantastic. Christmas is here. That's even better. So,
Right.
I always ask, my wife, like, what's your social meter look like? Are you at a 20%? Are you at a 90%? And I will actually, I will actually plan our nights. If we, let's say we like tomorrow night, we have nothing going on. So like, I will ask her that question and I will plan our night, like of what we want to do, like date night wise, based on her social meter.
Yeah.
Like her social meter is high. Cool. We might go, hang out with a couple of buddies, go on a couple double dates, I don't know, meet some friends at a restaurant, hang out, eat dinner, come home. Okay. Is it real low? Okay. This means that we're going to do something intimate, just me and her. Maybe we're watching a movie. Maybe we'll go look at Christmas lights, just us. Maybe we'll
Right.
get the dogs in the car and just go for a drive, whatever. Right. But, I gauge it on that. And I wish people could understand a little bit more of how a social meter works because not everybody's running at 100%.
Right. And if you're running 100% and she's not, you're basically poking the bear, right? So
100%.
I mean, I get that. It makes a lot of sense.
And
My
vice
my
versa.
girlfriend, she's an introvert. She caps out quick on the social meter, and I think for us it's just verbal cue or not verbal cues. What is it? I mean, you can just see it, but she says I've got weird energy. That's what she calls it. She says I have weird energy where I can just go on for days, and I could be up in the morning and making breakfast, 8 a.m. and uh literally go run a couple miles, whatever, get on the computer, do a lot of work. And on a Saturday, she sleeping in, she gets up and then we go freaking run 100 miles an hour, doing whatever else we want to do. And then she's tapping out by like 4, and I'm still then talking to whoever we're looking at going out with, and she's like, count me out. You're too much today.
So Leslie
She
and
just
Brittany
calls
would
it
get along,
blue
man.
energy.
They're the same people. I mean, they would get along so well because like, so we were planning a trip to go to Vegas with a good buddy of mine and his wife, and so it'd be us two and them two, and I was basically she's excited to go, right? Vegas is a good time, but like we had a conversation last night about the social meter. And I was like, well, babe, you don't have to worry. Like when your meter runs out, like my buddy's wife is the same way. Like she's all cool for a couple hours to have a good time, but like whenever she's ready to go and do her own thing, she's ready to go do her own thing. And my wife's the same way. So I was like, well, hey, like once your guys' social meter runs out, I was like, you guys just go back to the room and my buddy and I will just hang out on the casino floor and and do whatever. And it works for us. But yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like you ever heard this? Does Brittany ever say you don't have a morning voice. Did she ever say that?
Uh, she says I have a voice that carries. Yeah, it's a booming
Okay.
voice for
So
sure.
it's
Yeah.
the same thing. So when I wake, like for me this morning, so Celeste woke me up at like 4:30 this morning. She goes, "What's that smell?" I go, I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what's that smell?" She's like, "Something's burning." I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "We have smoke detectors in every room, carbon monoxide poisoning." I was like, "There's nothing burning." So she gets up and she goes, and basically uh looks through the house and to see if anything was burning. Nothing was burning. Everything was fine, right? But like she's whispering and talking real softly because she just woke up, right? And when I wake up, I'm talking like this. Like
Right.
there's no like, oh, Nate's groggy. It takes him a couple minutes to wake up. It's like as soon as my eyes are open, it's like a light switch.
Yeah. There's no octave below loud or what it is, you know.
Yeah.
My dad is very loud. My whole family's loud. And that's always been known with family, friends, relatives, whatnot. But
You
yeah,
are
well,
loud, right?
it sounds good in theory as far as you have you ever seen it might be like commercials where they I guess a good example is a couple girls going to a winery and then their husbands are together and then like push those husbands together like, hey, he likes football too. You guys can go hang out together. So that concept might be good in theory with your girlfriend or I'm sorry, your wife, and you say, hey, we're gonna go to Vegas, and if you guys slow down, we'll just put you in a room together, and you guys will mesh well because you'll just lay there and do nothing. Um, sounds good in theory, but
Probably
I
won't
don't
work
know.
out.
Are they are they already friends?
No, they are. So thank God. Like this is my
Okay,
best
okay,
man, right? I've known this guy for 15 years, and he's been married for a couple of years, and he's been together with her for quite some time. So my wife and her actually get along very well, and she's super cool. So like, there's no issue there for sure. But I agree with you 100%. Every time we go out to somewhere where maybe I know people, my wife doesn't, she'll say, "Don't you fucking leave me to talk to some
exactly.
strangers.
I was just
Don't
about
you
to point that
fucking
out,
leave."
dude. Brittany,
Every
she does that
time,
to me. We go to a
every time.
party, and I'm like the social butterfly. I'll go roam and talk to everybody. If I walk away from Brittany for a second and go talk to someone across the room, she'll come
Daggers.
back and be like, don't you ever don't you
Yeah.
ever walk away from me like that
And you
again.
know what's funny? We that happened to us a couple weeks ago. We were somewhere, I can't remember, but I knew a couple people there, and she didn't know anybody, right? Well, I go and be my social butterfly, like you said, walk around, shake hands, talk to people that I know, right? And I come back and she's having a good time. She made a new friend, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
okay. So I'm like,
yeah.
this goes to show, like, if you just get out of your comfort zone a little bit, you might meet a
Let
new
you let me
friend.
push you into deep waters a little bit. You might not. You might want to stab me for it, but
You might
look, you
swim.
came out a better person for it, right? You
Yeah,
might swim.
you might
Exactly.
swim. Yeah, it's so funny how that works out. But like you said, man, like if I could be thrown in a room full of dudes and the game's on, we'll be okay. Like
Yeah.
like we'll somebody will talk. We'll talk about something, right? Like yeah, you put my wife in a room with six ladies that she doesn't know. Like there might not be a word said. Like
You're right. Exactly. So
oh my
so yeah,
god,
be careful with that.
that's so funny. Talk about traveling through dangerous waters in that conversation, man. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's all right. It's a big couch. But yeah. So
Yeah.
back on topic, man. So one thing that's actually it's not really on topic, but I want to pick your brain on this because you're a business owner. We talked about how you made the leap of faith, dude, and I think this conversation is getting pretty juicy. So I'll go ahead and drop the hammer on you. Um, I've talked about another podcast that like they don't teach any of these stuff in school, right? And I think it's by design. They don't teach people how to be business owners. They don't teach people how to do taxes that way. And we were talking about reading earlier, right? Do you think it's possible that they have basically all the books that we read in high school sucked, right? I didn't really have maybe one that I thought was interesting, right? And it was of Mice and Men. I thought it was interesting, but all the other books that we read, they were kind of dumb in my opinion. I wonder if it's by design in their curriculum that they make these books less appealing to get people to hate reading, right? And then in return, because all the knowledge of you want to be successful is out there in books, right? But if you have this predetermined notion in your brain that reading is fucking terrible, you're never going to read those books and obtain that knowledge. It's the same concept with them not teaching business practices in school, but instead you learn how to play the recorder. I think maybe by design they do that to keep people in the matrix and in the machine rather than going out there and taking that leap of faith, starting a business, taking risk and being successful and acquiring that knowledge on their own.
Hmm. Well, I would think um I think your best proof there is obviously a lot of guys, like Zuckerberg or all these owners who dropped out of college or dropped out of school and then became all these big successful entrepreneurs. But no, I don't think they want to discourage people from reading. I think they absolutely want us all to read, but maybe for someone um, whose attention is pretty spread out, um, they would be discouraged from reading if they're forced to read, I think, right? So if there's a job, if there's a curriculum or class that says you have to read this book and tell me, um, the deeper picture and everything that you learned from that book or whatever. And maybe it's the book that you don't like at all, but you're forced to read it. You're gonna hate it. As opposed to maybe a literature class that says 1700s literature. Um, pick your book. Take one that you want to read about. It doesn't matter if it's about um, Roman wars or if it's about Shakespeare or what the case may be, but something from the 1700s. Go have fun. You might have a little more interest in that than being forced in a seventh grade literature class saying I need a report on this book. You know what I mean?
But what's the ratio
Um,
though, right? Like, so like, I think for me personally, and you were in a different school district, maybe it was just Rockwood School District curriculum, but like the amount of classes in language arts or in literature, I did take a lit class and was the teacher was great, but the subject was fucking terrible. But um, the ratio was like we're gonna assign 90% of the time it was, hey, these are books that you have to read, versus 10% of the time was, hey, go find a book that you like, right? So let's
mm,
say you got a kid out there that really likes dinosaurs and he aspires to be a paleontologist, right? Well, obviously, dude, like if you ingrain in his brain that he has to read these books about Shakespeare or whatever, right, that he doesn't like, or Hamlet or fucking Othello or anything, right, that doesn't apply to him, he doesn't care, like it's kind of just, in my opinion, a waste of time for him to read those things because it's not what he likes, and
yeah.
it might distill in his brain the fact of like, oh, dude, reading is fucking terrible. So now he never goes and finds that dinosaur book that he really could have liked. I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little wired there, but
Yeah, I mean, on the conspiracy theory side, you're saying they want to keep us all in a box by not teaching us the important things. But truth is, like I don't know, if we all learned and excelled in the tax code, then they would change the tax code. If everybody was able to manipulate the tax code like Donald Trump and George Soros, then maybe the tax code could change. If all of a sudden nobody has to pay taxes because they're all experts in tax code, tax deductions, then maybe something would change. But the reason it's hasn't changed because they're not teaching it and people aren't learning it, and except for the select few that go out and learn it. But yeah, it would be
that's
great.
very
I
true.
know Elon Musk is looking to, and sure, it's a very decisive concept or topic, but I'm a huge Elon Musk fan.
Same here.
And I couldn't care who thinks what about it, but I think he's done so many things best. And I guess on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think people like Bill Gates are terrible for a lot of reasons.
I would agree with that
Buying
too.
buying out farms and I don't know. There's a lot of things, but I'm not going to get into that. But I think somebody like Elon Musk starting a school with somebody like an entrepreneur like him or a successful entrepreneur, brilliant, doing these schools would be every bit of importance. I think it's crucial because I think he'll teach concepts like that. He'll teach tax code. He'll teach
Business theory, at least.
stages of and a lot of things are necessary. I mean, I was a business degree, emphasis in finance because they didn't have a finance degree at my school, but it was an emphasis in finance and a double minor in political science and business communications. That was my graduation.
If I was going to go to college, that's you just spit exactly what I would have been interested in. So I'm glad you did that. I mean, those are all categories that are applicable to your day to day. I mean,
Yeah,
you see people go to college and get a lesbian dance theory degree, and I'm like, great, you're in $80,000 of debt, and I'll see you at Walmart.
Well, so there's a lot of degrees that I don't think are very impactful. Well, not impactful, I say I wouldn't discredit that, but I mean that you can't turn into a high salary job, or maybe everyone's flooding their degrees in a particular field that then because it looks like it's a high stature in society, but all of a sudden you don't have the contractors, and the contractors are now in such high demand, they're going to make tenfold,
Right.
4 times, 5 times more money than everybody that's saturated the market of being financial planners, I guess you could say, right? But uh well, there was a point I was going to make earlier. Oh, well, I agree with Mr. Wonderful. I'm a big Shark Tank fan, but he
Yeah,
recently
same
came out
here.
and said he recently said the degree that he would recommend that yields the highest success is engineering. And I 100% agree with that. I would, if I had children, when I had children, I would wish and love that they become engineers. I think engineering is incredible. And I think if I could go back and do it, I probably would have been an engineer. But mechanical engineer, software engineer, network engineer, any of those, phenomenal. But be an engineer, I would say.
Yeah, I agree
Um,
with that. And that's always a safe bet career. Like even in the recessions, even when the economy's in the shit, engineers always have work because there's always things that need to be done. There's always infrastructure that needs to be built. There's always, networks that need to be established. Like I think a very safe career. And the pay scale in there is pretty well. I mean, you come out of college making probably, anywhere between 70 to 90. And then once you get tenured and have some experience in your belt, you're easily making six figures.
yeah.
I think it's a safe bet career path to go. I definitely don't I what I find is funny is I'm kind of on the fence about this, man, because like people go to school and they get a business degree, like that can be worth its weight in gold for sure, right? People use those skills that they've learned, they start businesses, they run businesses, they climb corporate America's ladder, like that's fantastic, right? But people will go to school for like a journalism degree and then like not use it, right? Or like they'll go to school for some odd degree and they won't use it at all, like a communications degree, like we talked about, right? Like it's a very versatile,
That's right. We did talk
but
about that
we did, but
a while ago.
right, but it's a versatile degree, right? Like a lot of people have communication degrees, but they don't do shit with it. It's absolutely pointless. They'll have a communications degree with like speech therapy as their minor, and then they'll work in pharmaceuticals. So like, great man, like why did you get in all that debt for a skill set that you're not using? I don't know. It's always kind of been a mind boggle to me why people do that. But hey, to each his own, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, communications comes with a lot of perks when you take those courses. You're doing a lot of practice and not just public speaking, but speaking clearly, getting your message across, and you're training in interviews, you're training in just normal day-to-day communications, as well as cutting down those filler words. There's a lot of filler words, and everyone is, as I just said, uh, um, everyone is, nobody's perfect. You
Sure.
use it to fill some space, but if you are if you practice and really just taking a step back, not having to fill the space with words, thinking about the next thing you're going to say, all of a sudden you can speak more clearly and take control of the pace of the conversation, which really brings and adds engagement to the conversation as well, brings attention to it as well. So simple things like that you learn in communications with a communications degree applies to sales, applies to everyday communications. It's I think it's very useful.
Sure.
Um,
And I think it's all about how you use it, right? But for me, like I don't have a communications degree, and I think I speak pretty well. I've been in sales my whole life. I've been very successful in sales and marketing, and I really think that the value for me where it came from was I just jumped into a retail sales environment early on, right? And I was able to. It was fast paced and it was demanding. So, excuse me, I was able to learn that skill set kind of trial by fire, right? And then whenever me and you worked together, that was that environment, man, was a Holocaust camp for cold callers, right? That's always what I call it. I mean,
yeah.
150 calls a day of just grueling conversations that were tough, right? And sink or swim. And I think truly that I'm blessed that we worked there together because it made us both into cold calling animals. And that's such a underutilized skill set in sales, in my opinion. People are so scared to jump on the phones. Well, you got guys like Brett Simon out there that was top of his class, kicking ass and taking names for years, right? You got guys like me that did pretty well, and other people we know. And I don't know. I mean, communications degree is definitely one route to take, but I think also a way for people to kind of bypass that, if they don't want to go that route, is jump into a sales environment early on, man, and trial by fire. You're gonna struggle a lot. It's gonna be terrible at the beginning. At the same time, but you're learning so much, and if you keep working on it, right, and hone your craft, then things will be okay. You'll turn out to be a rock star, hopefully. And I don't know. There's a bunch of different routes to take, I guess, is my whole message there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, and at the end of the day, entrepreneurs will come out of any of them.
Oh yeah, man.
So take the things you're interested in, but um, I'm not going to discredit any degrees right now. But go whichever way you want, what you're passionate in. But if you're an entrepreneur at heart, you're going to be an entrepreneur no matter what degree you take. Some might be more impactful than others, and as far as being an entrepreneur goes, but if you're an entrepreneur at heart and you take your passion, maybe you apply it with your degree, you apply your career toward that. And if you're an entrepreneur, you'll make a business out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's definitely some validity there. And I will tell you, like, I'm sure there is a lot of benefit of getting a business degree and becoming an entrepreneur, because you've already kind of been trained on the fundamentals. So whereas, like, let's say someone like me who doesn't have a business degree, I start a business, right? I might have to learn trial by fire, right? I might have to make a couple mistakes for me to learn that lesson. Whereas someone like, with a business degree, maybe they already have those core foundations in their game plan, so
You
they
could
might be
do you could
bypassing.
be you could have an MBA, you could read all the books, you could be highest in your class. You are going to make mistakes as an entrepreneur. You're
Sure.
going to learn a lot starting your own business that you never learned, probably never would learn getting an MBA or getting any type of business degree.
In
So
a classroom setting.
you'll never be perfectly prepared. You just won't. But it's really just the tenacity and staying up, man. When I first started my business, doing everything from creating my website, which I did entirely with ChatGPT. I started using ChatGPT before anybody knew what it was. Like as soon as it got out, I was using it 15 hours a day. I was using it constantly. I learned how to code through ChatGPT. And now I'm not a very good coder. There are people that can code a hell of a lot better than I can. But now I've learned how to build a website and code uh, solely through ChatGPT. But when I first started the business, I was up 15 hours a day working constantly. I mean, it's so funny that people talk about how they want to be their own boss or start their own business and be able to take off work or whatever, do whatever you want at all times. No,
Yeah.
you start your own business, you quickly work all the time, all the time. I'm up on my laptop and my bed till midnight several nights, just getting opera um, more admin work done, things that can't otherwise be done. What I need to do during a 9 to 5, I got to do during a 9 to 5. After that is like admin work. And when you run your own business, the admin work never stops. So, um, no, you said something earlier about sales. Oh yeah, it would be good for everybody to go into sales at some point. Everybody should do some sort of sales job because I
I
think
agree
there's a lot of
100%.
skills. There's a lot of skills learned in that you wouldn't get otherwise. I mean, think about a lot of people that go into IT. A lot of the successful people that go into IT are the ones with personalities. Um, Not to describe people that don't have a very striking personality, but it's true. I have friends that are network engineers or just I'm not going to pretend to even have a high IQ on IT, but in these very good positions. Um, and they've told me as they've gone up the ranks, a big benefit to that process of who's promoting them through their IT positions is they tell them like you're a dime a dozen in this industry. For one guy like you, there's another 50 that are no personality, no talk,
Right.
whatever. So for those guys that have that in their industry, it's a leg up, and I think leads toward their success. But I think sales is important for everybody at some point because that is a big reason why I even started my business. I think I I get upset like almost emotionally if I think about maybe blue collar guys that perfect their craft over the course of 20 years, whether it's, roofing, plumbing, um, lawn care, any of that, right? Maybe you've spent 20 years really, or piping, pipe fitting, doesn't matter. You get welding, I don't care. You become amazing at your craft and you've developed that over a long time, and you finally muster the courage to start your own business, know you can go on your own, um, quickly to find out that you may be the best welder in the world, but you have no idea how to sell or market. And so whether or not you are the best in the industry, you can't do anything without clients, or to convey that message. And so that's where it touches me personally to want to do what I can, because I can't imagine. I mean, I know someone specifically that's been in this business for 20 plus years who would love nothing but to own his own roofing company, but he doesn't know the business side. He doesn't know a lot of the red tape involved. Um, but for guys that do take that leap and then come to find all the obstacles that they didn't expect that may otherwise, the business fails, something that we help with a lot on the small business side. Let us help you tap into that commercial space, in a sales process that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's
anyway,
why I think your company, man, fills a lot of those gaps, right? So you could, like you said, I've always used this analogy, Brett, and if it's too stupid, just call me out on it, right? Whatever. But I've always said, like, when people have a business idea, they could be the Lamborghini of business ideas, okay? And they could be the best roofer, the best pipe fitter, the best plumber, whoever it is, man. They could be the Lamborghini of their craft. If they don't have any gasoline, man, they're not going anywhere. It's just going to sit in their driveway, right? And in this case, they can go out there and pump their own gas, or they hire a company like you to pump their gas for them. I mean, that's what you do, man. Like your whole deal is, man, you're giving companies that are shit at their maybe that's shit. I shouldn't say that language, but
no.
they're struggling with getting those opportunities and building that book of business. And companies like you are filling those gaps for them, right? And in return, you're also teaching them too the processes of how to be successful.
Well, so yeah, commercial roofing, most of our clients aren't at that infancy stage. Most of them are actually, they've been doing residential roofing for 20 years now, as a residential roofing company of their own. And the sales process is a lot shorter in that area, but they want to expand in the commercial space. And that's very common in commercial roofing. And the sales process is different, a little longer, a little more verbiage, and then they might be 80% residential, 20% commercial, and those commercial leads really just stem from referrals through the residential market. They don't have a process in place to really bolster that commercial sales side or that commercial roofing side. And we do. It's pretty proven, and we do well with it. All of our clients so far net positive. Let me think. But no, back to I guess task. I thought it was good that you mentioned that everyone at some point needs to be in sales. I saw of everybody that you and I probably follow a lot of the same people, but Jordan Peterson being one of them.
Oh yeah.
He has it's not a snippet, but really he'll talk about it for like 30 minutes where he put together a program that he thought was just dynamite. He thought there's no reason everyone wouldn't want this. And so he put this together in his own business, and he quickly realized in his 50s that, as a psychology expert in his field and well known, but he had put together a program that he thought bulletproof. There's no one, everyone's going to want this. And then he quickly found out that sales is, in his opinion, one of the toughest industries to be in out there. He's like, I can be, one of the world's leading psychologists and cannot understand the concept of closing a sale, basically. So if you haven't heard that spiel from Jordan Peterson, that's an interesting one to hear.
Yeah, I to piggyback off that, man, I said this on the pod a couple weeks ago, man. But I had an old manager of mine. Did you see this part where he told me what sales was? Like the best analogy of sales I've ever been told. And he was like, she's like, Nate, so you played sports, and Brett, you played sports, so you know this, right? So he's like, sales is like being in the playoffs every single day of your life forever. And at the end of the month, you either win the championship or you don't, right? But most sports teams, what do they have? They have an off season. Hey, you won the Stanley Cup or you didn't win the Stanley Cup. You get 4 months off, 3 months off, whatever it is, and then you train, you come back, whatever, right? You play again. Sales is you're in playoff mode every single month, every day, right? The first of the month is the start of the playoffs until the last day of the month, and either you win the Super Bowl or you didn't. But there's no off season. Like you sleep that night and then you wake up and you're back in the first round again forever. And whenever he told me that, like that's kind of what sales looks like, and I've implemented that in my own kind of my ideology about sales. It really just made me look at it in a larger picture of like how I can structure my month to be successful in the sales category, right? And then you kind of gamify, from my mental, I gamified it myself and it became more fun. But I agree with you 100%. With Jordan Peterson, he's correct. I believe firmly that everybody in some capacity should work in sales at some point. My spin on that is I think it should be retail. I think it should be commission, high pressure sales retail, because you're dealing with every objection you can think of. You're dealing in person, so you can't run away, right? People, we both were doing cold calls for a long time, Brett. Some reps, if they got scared on the phone, they could just hang up, right? It was their out. They could hang up. When you're in person and you're dealing with a pissed off person in front of you in a retail setting, and you're working until 9 o'clock and it's 4 p.m., you can't run away. You have to deal with that problem head on. And I'll attribute it to my own personal experience, man. My first retail job, I worked at Six Flags, right? As every kid in Eureka does. And I worked in locker sales, right? So imagine this, Brett. You take you and your girlfriend to Six Flags. Let's say you guys have a bunch of kids. You pay $300 for everybody to get in, right? To a half-assed amusement park, okay? It's in the middle of August. It's 105 degrees. It's hot because you're walking on black asphalt. To get a bottle of water is $17. All your kids want to do is ride this ride. You guys have to ride it with them, right? What happens? Oh, hey, ma'am, you can't bring that purse on the ride. Okay, what do I do with it? You're gonna have to pay this asshole over here $5. yeah. Like, so you just paid, $500 for your kids to get in there, right? You waited in line.
Well, don't I have a solution for you right over here?
Right. So when I would deal with those people, man, nobody would ever be happy to talk to me. Not one time out of the year I worked there during that summer when I was 17, not one person was excited to buy a locker from me. Every sale was difficult. Every sale was horrible. And it was nonstop objection and complaint. Yeah. Now, during that time when I worked there, it was the shittiest job in the world. You're standing out in the sun for 10 hours a day. You're hot. All you're doing is dealing with pissed off people all day, right? What I didn't realize is that in my mental capacity, that was building the foundation for I can handle any objection I've ever gotten in the sales world since then with no problem. I don't get flustered. I don't get worked up. People can be yelling and screaming on the phone with me, and I'm cool, calm, and collected because I've already experienced the worst, man. I've got death threats at 17 from a pissed off redneck at Six Flags. Nobody could ever top that. This guy was like, when do you get off? I said 9 o'clock. He goes, I'll be waiting for you in the parking lot. I was like, okay.
I do clock out, so I technically will have to be there. But
right. I was like, I guess I'll find out, man. I was like, I drive a black Chrysler 200. See me then, Yeah. And I was kind of an arrogant asshole at 17, whatever. But the guy didn't show up. But that guy gave me, threats, right? And so my whole point is if people work in that capacity and they've already fought the hardest battle, they've won the toughest war, you're going to be set for every other encounter you have. You're going to be like, this is cake, right? This is going to eat anything that comes up next is you've already mastered. Who cares? Move on.
Well, I would agree and disagree with your friend in the sales analogy. Through playoffs and no off season, because my approach to sales now has really has evolved to not shoving a sale down someone's throat at all. I think that I would agree in the sense that it's everlasting. It's always going. There's never a real stop to it. You got to hit your you have to do the volume. You have to prospect. You have to keep blood in the pipeline. That is all very important. But at least in my industry, someone that doesn't have anything wrong with the roof, there's nothing to repair. Obviously, there's things that you can pivot to. You can go to preventative maintenance agreements. You can do roof cleanings. You can do annual inspection reports. You can make the argument that even a new roof with a manufacturer, 20-year manufacturer warranty, Some of these manufacturers, in order to uphold that warranty, would want proof of routine maintenance, to which case you would want annual inspection reports, and that
Sure.
you keep that on file as proof of maintenance. So I've closed those deals several times. So a roof that may otherwise not have anything going on with it, no leaks, no damage, um, no debris, it's not beyond warranty, whatever the case may be, right? So there's always something that you supposedly could sell, which is fine. Check the boxes. You can have the conversation. I'll have the conversation with someone as long as they'll have with me. But if I gauge on the call that they're trying to run me off, I want to end it on a good note and follow up with them. Say, hey, at the end of the day, my goal is to just be the first person that comes to mind when something does arise. When you do notice a leak, if you would save my contact and be sure to reach out next time something happens, that's a win in my book. But I'll be the guy that will keep up in contact with you and until something does happen, and they'd be like, yeah, that sounds great. Send them a dynamite email, saying thanks for the conversation. We'll keep in touch. These things inevitably happen, and we get good responses for it. And when you just build your pipeline that way, you'll have continual success. You'll have warm leads that you're not only following up with on a precise time frame based on roof age, roof condition, previous conversations, but you'll also have people calling back consistently.
Sure.
Hey, we spoke 6 months ago. I saved your number, like you said, and now we have a leak. That's hilarious. Yeah, and I answer the call and we get out there. There's also other things you can do from the marketing side.
Drip
But I think
campaigns, all that good stuff.
yeah, well, even in roofing, oddly enough, there are, you don't want to tarnish a client's domain, so we're very careful about doing some outreach in a bulk sense, which we don't do if they don't want us to, but we have a lot of proven success on if a storm blows through. For example, in Missouri, there was a storm that blew through Wentzville a few months ago, and we put together all verified emails that we had already put together that we gathered through the campaign. Someone that we hadn't otherwise sent an email to 2 weeks ago, so at least 2 weeks old. We did built a list of about 100 emails in Wentzville that we reached out to. We call it a rain check, that just checking in on them following the storm, see how the roof held up. And out of 100, rain check emails in a storm area, we've always had, it's like two and a half leads per 100 emails.
Which is
just
great, by the way, for people that don't know.
Yeah, it's great.
That's a great win ratio.
If you're over 1%, that's a good win ratio, and yeah, it's about 2.5. So
Yeah.
whatever.
I should have
Following a
clarified.
storm, go ahead.
I should have clarified though. Like I've never been the guy that sells, shove sales down people's throats myself. I've always believed like my sales process, man. Like I do not run a slaughter farm. I run a dairy farm. I'm not slaughtering the cow to eat a steak tonight. I'm treating the cow good. I'm milking the cow so I can have milk for the next 10 years, right? I treat my clients very well because in return, what happens? They treat you very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been the guy to be that pushy used car salesman. And so I should have clarified that. But I think for me, like his analogy means like, it's more so you have to go find those opportunities, right? And I've been in calls many times, man, where like this guy will tell me what he wants. And I'm like, man, like you don't need to pay a company for this. Like I can show you how to do this in 25 minutes. You could hire your little niece to do it once a week and pay her $10 and you'd be good. You don't need to pay me $5,000 a month to do this, right? I've talked myself out of deals many times because I have my morals and ethics kick in, and I'm like, dude, as much as I would love your money, like you don't need me. Like you're not everybody is a perfect fit, but there's plenty of people out there that are good fits, and it's your opportunity to go find those people. And if I've always looked at business that way, and whenever you look at the business that way, I've always find that my pipeline's never dry. It's always pretty fruitful because I treat people that way and they treat me, they're reciprocal, which is fantastic. But the guys out there that are feast or famine in the most part where, oh, I got to sell every person that comes in on the lot, a new car or a used car, and, they sell lemons left and right. Well, what happens, man? Like those people will never go buy a car from them again. When in reality, you sell me a car at 19, I should be buying a car from you at 25, at 35.
Right.
My daughter turns 16. I should be coming to buy a car from you then. My wife needs a new car. That's the way that sales should be ethical and it just makes sense. And when people are the opposite of that, it gives people in the sales world a bad rap, and it makes it more difficult for everybody else to just do the right thing. It's fucking ridiculous.
That's true. And so our agreement with our partners allows us to, we're more than a lead generation company. We strive to be indistinguishable from an inside full-time sales rep for our partners. So we're basically a team built as a sales professional internally, and we will build the business and take it beyond the initial lead, the initial meeting, or even proposal. We follow up beyond proposal, see what they thought about it. What do we need to take out, go high, low, more competitive, what needs to be added, things like that. If there's maybe additional scope that needs to be added, but we work the close. We follow up with them 2-3 months. Say we did some roof repairs, follow up with them 2 months from then. Say, hey, just checking in. Want to see? Well, maybe not checking in is the right word, but
yeah, you wouldn't say that.
I'm following up. Based on the repairs that we've done 2 months ago, came out, did those roof repairs. Want to make sure that the roof is held up well from those repairs. And I'm not selling anything there. If the repairs held up well and I followed up with you, you're thankful for the repairs that held up well, and you're thankful that I kept in touch with you.
Yeah,
whether it was good or bad. You might as well tell me, hey, it's still leaking. All right, we'll get back out there. And you're glad I reached out to you. It wasn't the other way around. But from that point, we don't let go of any customers or prospects. A lot, we work with tons of property managers. And once you have a good interaction like that, a good repair, successful repair, and you follow up on it, they've got 30, 40, sometimes 80, 100 properties on their portfolio.
Right.
And we'll generate several opportunities from that one property manager.
Because you're the preferred vendor.
Yeah, it's from a lead generation sense, it's like, hey, this lead hit, go have fun with it, and then hands off. That's lead generation in its simplest sense, and that's just half the process is generating the lead. So we really help our clients close. But have you ever heard of the red car theory?
Red car theory. I have heard of it, but I can't recall what exactly happened.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to relate this to what you were talking about earlier of
I have heard that
closing the sale or taking the opportunity. So yeah, the red car theory is, the last, what's today, Thursday? How many red cars did you see on the road this week since Monday?
Well, I drive one. So
yeah, I thought you did, and I thought about. I was just thinking
I bought my wife the matching color Jeep to match my truck, so we both have.
All right. So aside from your guys' vehicles, how many red cars did you see out on the road this week?
I can't give you the actual number, but I didn't do much driving this week, so maybe 10.
Okay, well that'd be a lot, but not sure, right?
Yeah.
So if I told you,
though, crazy enough, a lot of people in my neighborhood have red cars for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
But yeah. So anyways, yeah.
So red car theory is, if I had said to you that, Nate, I'll pay you $50 for every red car that you see this week, do you think you would see more red cars this week?
Yes, because I'd be looking for them.
Exactly, you'd be looking for them. So you apply that same thing to opportunities in your life. If you were out looking and aware of this on your everyday life, everyday practice, you'd find more opportunities, as opposed to going through life not looking for opportunities, not looking at everything as an opportunity, whatever the case may be, and otherwise opportunities going by you, and you're missing them.
Yeah, that's 100%.
That's just the basis of it.
That's very true. I think that's very true. And before I forget, one thing I wanted to give you kind of kudos on that I like about your business and what you do for your clients is what you said earlier is so true, man. Like, nobody would know the difference between if your person that you put on an account, like that, the receiving end of that would have no clue that they work for Elevate instead of ABC Roofing, right? The way that you get your system set up with there, like, you are literally a non-in-office remote sales rep for that company. And I think the client gets better results from that, obviously, right? Because they get that personalized feel, but they also get that sales rep that doesn't call in sick. Like if let's say you have somebody on, like, if they hired me to be in person, right? And I got married in October, I was gone for 2 weeks, right? That's an employee that they were paying for 2 weeks. I wasn't there. Whereas they have somebody from your organization, right? Like, there's no downtime. The results, the work's getting done every day.
I think an even bigger benefit to it is the risk of hiring an inside sales rep, the risk of, paying salary, benefits, spending the time for training, buying hardware, software, all for the over 70% turnover rate
Yeah.
of spending the time training them for underperformance and inevitably being out the door.
Yeah.
High turnover rate in our industry. So if you were to compare hiring somebody with a over 70% turnover rate and underperforming after investing all this time and money, or hiring us, a team of sales professionals,
You
with
could have bought your
guaranteed
program
results.
twice.
Right. So and we're eating our costs, right? You're not paying our operating costs, but you're paying for, I guess, our our labor, our service. So but yeah, I think that's a big benefit from the peace of mind of having the sales professionals in the industry that are, honestly, if you're in perspective of lead generation, you're not getting a lead generation partner that has more knowledge in the industry, at least of commercial roofing, as opposed to someone that's just getting clicks and inbound leads and just dumping whatever's under the sun over to you and saying, hey, I don't know if this is even a good roofing opportunity or not, but go spend your time on it. That's complete opposite of what we do. So we have
Also, your
really
process
high
is
close rates.
guaranteed. Like, you guarantee a set amount of qualified appointments, right? So in that regard, like, that is huge. Like, they hire a sales rep internally. Nothing's guaranteed. That guy could be a dud or he could be a rock star. It's either one, right? Whereas you guys, your process is guaranteed, right? It's proven. You've replicated it many, many times. I mean, I know you haven't been in business that long, but how many appointments do you think you've set thus far? It's got to be a ton.
Just with my business.
Not in your lifetime. God bless. I know it's probably tens of thousands for your lifetime, but yeah, just for Elevate. Like, how many in the last 12 months? How many qualified appointments? Because I know you very well. You don't just throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. I know your appointments are qualified. How many of those do you think you have?
In the last 12 months is 140.
That's 140 opportunities that those businesses would not have had.
Well, I guess that's the last 11 months, but yeah.
That's a ton, dude. There's no sales rep out there that's setting that many a month by themselves. I guarantee it. And if they are, they're pretty damn good at what they do.
We did. I'm just looking at it now. And we quoted, as far as amounts quoted, because I mean, in commercial roofing, the average re-roof size that we provide is about 150,000 on a project, the largest being 1.2 million. But in total quotation, I'm just adding up each one's portfolio here. Well, that's not as high. That's not as high as I thought, but it's almost 10 million in the last 11 months in quotes. I think it should have been a little higher than that.
Something to work for next year.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty impressive, though. 10 million in revenue that a company wouldn't have had before. I mean, most companies out there don't do 10 million in revenue.
Well, that's not revenue. That's just quotes. So not closed business, but in our process. Exactly. And in our process, I mean, the sales process for a re-roof at best, actually my client will be a client, I think, come March. That's when we're talking about kicking off. But he said at best, the re-roof sales cycle is 4 months. And I was like, well, that's right. I mean, everything that we see in our sales cycle, our re-roof sales cycle is between 6 and 12 months.
Yeah.
And in our economy too, it's almost always up to that 12-month mark. That's why it's very important to stay in touch with them. But yeah, so we have 10 million in proposals active, pending, and we're not going to lose them. I can't tell you how often we might give a quote to a property manager, and as we stay in touch with them and follow up, to find before the project even closes, that property manager's gone, or that property management company offloaded that property off their books. Then you talk to them, find out who the new property manager is, and you're the first one on scene to those guys, letting them know, hey, the history of that roof that you've been dealing with for the last year. Hey, we've already got this measurement and quote out. You bought this property knowing you're gonna have to replace the roof. Now all of a sudden, the other 5 quotes that have been gathered on that roof, and those roofers are sitting on their hands, not realizing where it needs to go.
Right.
We're there. So
Yeah, staying top of mind, brother, is half
staying
the
on
battle,
top.
man. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
it
to.
really is. It's a huge part, and that's something that we do well that you wouldn't get without a sales team like this. So
You don't understand, man. When I led some sales teams back in the day, the first thing I would get to know people about, man, is their follow up process, right? Like you could be the best pitcher, the best sales rep out there, the best prospector, the whole 9 yards, man. You could have some fire pitches, and for whatever reason, man, like they're just not ready to close today, which happens all the time. That's okay, right? But if your follow up game is terrible, like you might as well have, you just wasted your time
yeah, you're
because
going in circles.
the one thing that kills deals is time. Time kills deals more than anything, right? Now,
Mm,
there's a caveat to that. In certain industries like yours, the sales cycles can definitely be longer, and that's okay, right? That's to be expected. But do you think damn well that those people remember who they spoke to 12 months ago when they're ready to make the decision?
right.
Definitely not, right? So when you get an organization like you guys that come in that follow up that process, that have a strong follow up
Mm,
procedural, right? Like that's
right.
revolutionary to those businesses because I guarantee you their sales reps internally are not doing that. Their follow up game is weak. It's lackluster. They get sidetracked. They
Right.
have their own lives to worry about, whatever. But you have a system that works and you're staying on top of these people, even if it's a touch point once a month, once every 3 months, once every 6 months,
Mm.
whatever. Staying top of mind whenever the need comes to rise, dude, their subconscious is going to say, oh, I got to call Brett. I got to call
And
him.
then and then in this industry too, you mentioned, the sales cycle for a project, a re-roof or new construction is about that long. But the complete flip of the coin is when you have a roof leak, the sales process could be anywhere from 48 hours to sometimes 6 weeks,
Sure.
but it's a lot shorter. Those guys have a totally different mindset. They want those leaks repaired now. They want you out there now. They want you to send if it's a new customer and they don't particularly just trusting you coming out to service on site, bill them later. They want the proposal now. And that sometimes is a trick with clients that we want to convey and help with as much as possible is look, these guys have never worked with you before. As much as we'd like to do the service on site, they're still asking
Right.
for a proposal. So the faster it's important, the faster you can get a quote out, the better. That way, if they've got a leak, we get out there in 2 days. It might take a week to get a proposal out, just depending on their process. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish we could just churn out a proposal. Um, Actually, this is one thing that I try to implement with all our clients is, um, and I'm not sponsored by the way, but I'm going to push this. Company Cam is a dynamite app for anybody in the blue collar industry. In a perfect world, this is what you would do. You get your foreman or your whoever, probably a foreman, that would go out and inspect the roof for the roof leaks. But in real time, you'd have an office manager as well. And that foreman will go out and use Company Cam. Basically, Company Cam is an app that internet based. You take photos, and then those photos are shared to everybody that's on the app. And those photos also can be moved into PDFs or documents, but also you can add like arrows and circles and maybe you like your logo, your little tag or whatever it is when you see things. So your foreman gets out on the roof in real time as on the roof. They can take pictures of the issues, measure them, even write a note of maybe more specifically like the material you need for the repair of this issue. But as they're on the roof, just taking these pictures in real time, the office manager is sitting here receiving those pictures.
And
They
making
could
the
be
proposal.
they can either be putting the proposal together or getting the material price for those. And before that roofer leaves the roof, the office manager could get back or even write a note in that project, because you just open a project on the address. Before that roofer leaves, say, this is how much you can do it for. This is for time, material, labor as you're out there. Like an owner of a small roofing company could go out there and have materials and truck and know his own pricing and give that price on site. But a foreman who maybe don't let determine those pricing, that can be relayed back to them. They can give that price on site. You can either get the repairs on site or we can get back and churn out a proposal. And if they still insist on getting a proposal and you leave, I mean, there's costs in gas insurance and time getting out there. You can equate that to the proposal as well. But still, in real time, you should be able to churn that proposal out same day. And in the age of speed, that's what it needs to be at. And so we do come across some issues of time to get proposals out, and that's where I think a lot of repair jobs or even just service projects perhaps where you're installing roof accessories or doing something more than just like a repair, but it's not necessarily a project or a re-roof. I think that's where a lot of those are lost. Is in that time of churning out a proposal. So
Yeah,
there's
I've
ways
always
to
been
do it
that.
so much faster.
You're so right, man. And like I go back to earlier what I said about the time killing deal, man. And it's not about just the follow up in that regard. It's also about like sending people the information they're requesting, right? If you're telling me, like if I went to you and you were selling a car, right? And I was like, hey, Brett, I really like this Mustang. Could you give me a price on it? And you took 3 weeks to get me back the price, dude. I'm going somewhere down the street and buying that car.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I want and then people, like, especially in our market of Americans, we want information now. We want the information right now so we can make our decision, weigh our pros and cons, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, we'll move on. And I think that's a really good point that you guys do, like you said, that you guys do better than else, right? Is the delay of communication from the client to the prospect, right? They're kind of bridging that gap, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Where can we help our clients close a bunch of deals? So one thing that I push on all of our clients is, I mean, if they have a slow process to churning proposals, then I'll bring up Company Cam. But I honestly, that's not as big of what I like. I get every one of our clients on a third revenue stream in roofing, where most roofing companies don't do, and that's the PM agreements, where you basically sign an agreement to take responsibility of the roof over the course of a year. The roof may or may not be under warranty. If it is under warranty, as long as you're certified with the manufacturer, you can do it. But basically, a PM agreement has some of the highest margins in roofing. You go out, inspect the roof twice a year, 6 months apart, identify issues, put together an inspection report of life expectancy, current warranty, deficiencies you identified, costs for repairs on those issues. But having a PM agreement in place checks so many boxes. One, in the customer's eyes, you are now their roofer. So when somebody tells you to kick rocks, I've got a roofer, I'm not going to listen to you, this could very well be what they mean. Now they could be BSing you, or someone that they have that they use but maybe aren't tied to, but just want to get you off the phone. They could do
Right.
that. But if my clients are putting together PM agreements and taking that roof over for a course of a year, you're not wedge gapping that guy. You've already paid in for a year of 2
It's a
inspections
guaranteed
and
sale.
cleanings, right? So, but then there's also the upsells of inspection, following the inspection, finding all the issues and saying, hey, here's all the issues of your roof, we're going to repair it. And they're going to go to you because you're the roofer. They're not going to say, oh, okay, we've got these 5 penetrations, we have an annual contract with you, but we're going to take multiple bids on that. Like,
yeah, why would they? Why would they?
Could that happen? Yeah, but it doesn't really happen. So
But
you really
if I was a business owner though, and I had a warehouse, let's say 50,000 square foot warehouse, and me and you have a PM agreement, right? And
right.
you do the inspection, you're like, hey Nate, like here's all the issues, right? I'm gonna say, hey man, you know my roof better than anybody else right now. Come out here and fix the problem. I'm not gonna say, well, okay, well, I'll get a couple more bids, right? Like, why would I delay the process when you guys have already been on my roof 100 times? They have already done work. I know the quality of the work you guys do. I know you're pricing to a ballpark, right? The rapport is there, the relationship's there. Why not, right? The conversion rate on those, I'm sure, is much, much higher than what it should.
It is. It's much higher. And then also the key is to renew your PM agreement,
right,
and forever hold them as you being their preferred vendor. But then, crazy enough, if it's a 15-year-old roof and you've done their PM for the last 3 years, an 18-year-old roof, yeah, who do you think they're going to have do the roof replacement?
Right.
You. That's now, like, it's so much easier to become that solidified roofer when you're in a PM agreement, as opposed to them being able to take quotes out in the wind, whether you've done repairs with them or not in the past.
Well, now the office staff has you by a first name basis, right? Let's say Jim, the operations manager, notices a leak on the left like the left side of the building, right? Oh shit, hey, there's a leak. Hey, he goes to the office. What did they say? Oh, you guys got to call Brett. Well, call Brett. He'll take care of it, right? Boom. Right. First name basis in the office. They're gonna give you the business every time because you proved your work. I think that's huge. Well, I'll tell you what, man.
We get all of our clients on it. They weren't doing them before, and then they're doing them now. And we'll even put together the PM contracts, what they look like, and say, hey, this is how we do them. This is how our clients do them. Take what you like, take what you don't like, but let's add this third revenue stream. So that's just some big benefits. There's so many things we do that are beyond lead generation, right? So
yeah. I mean, I see the value there for sure, and I'm not even in the industry. I mean, it just makes good sense to me. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. In this case, it's a home run. when you add that to people's arsenal as far as what they're able to offer.
Right.
Well, Brett, I'll tell you, man, like we've been talking for almost 2 hours. I'm happy that we were able to kind of extend this. So I won't keep you much longer, man, but I would like you once again to just plug your business in, man, like who you're looking for. I know you did it earlier, but once again, at the end of it, who you're looking for, like, as far as your ideal client and
Mhm.
how they can find you. And then, of course, everybody out there, if you can't get a hold of Brett and you want to get a hold of him for this reason, contact me. Send me a direct message. I will get you in contact with him. I'll give you his firstborn and his address, and he'll be able to get in contact with you 100%.
Yeah, well, I think two things. If it does make a difference, we just added two champions to the team. Always want to have more people. Full remote sales. Work wherever you want, whenever you want. I guess, I mean, there isn't either. You can either do a no obligation, work whenever you want, or if you want to get more involved, we'll get you as involved as you want to be. Um, if you're turning out consistent results each month. But yeah, so we're looking for some remote sales champions that want to take their own schedule and take responsibility of their own performance, and then also roofing companies, particularly roofing companies. We want more in like Texas and Florida right now. That's good availability, but anywhere, don't be shy. So if you know anybody in commercial roofing that want more commercial roofing work, hell, I'll give you a commission for the referral, as you know. Give you a commission for referral, which, by the way, I went out and met with
Yeah.
our friend today. Brought him a case and as a gift, and met him on site today, just running some errands. So he was out doing a pretty nice project, and but yeah, that's the name of it. We want to stick to commercial roofing. Like I said, if I die doing nothing but commercial roofing, I'll be happy. But HVAC, solar, they're there. We could certainly get into that at some point, but yeah, right now we want to kind of take over all the commercial roofing work.
Fair enough, man. Well, guys, I will tell you, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, Be Better Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. My buddy Brett here, very insightful in the roofing or commercial roofing industry. Brett, I also want to thank you for being on, man. I know we've been trying to work this out past couple of weeks or so, and it means a lot to me that you're able to, give me this time while you're home with your family over the holidays. And man, I'm excited to see where your company goes, man. I love seeing people that I've known that were, in the trenches with me doing cold calls to now you own a successful business. And it's different when people like, oh, I sell t-shirts, right? That's cool, man. But that's not really affecting people's day-to-day life. The results that your company produces, man, literally revolutionizes businesses' revenue streams. And I just want to say thank you from someone who is in that category for what you've done. And I look forward to seeing your success grow from here.
Thanks, Nate. I appreciate having me on the Be Better podcast. It's a very interesting podcast. I've been watching all the episodes. Haven't seen them all, but I've seen a few, and they look like they're getting better and better each episode. So keep doing it. You love it, and I wish nothing but the best.
Yeah, brother. Likewise. Well, hey, thanks again, brother. And everybody out
Thank
there,
you.
thanks again for joining in, and go out there and be better. See you guys.
Thanks. Bye.